Secretary Rivera, I think we're still in the morning here. Good morning to you.
Morning.
We haven't met before. This is somewhat, although a little awkward, I suppose, to say hello and introduce myself to you. And give you just very quickly a little flavor of where I'm from. I said Eastern Chester County, Montgomery County. I am fortunate to live in a place where we have excellent public schools. I do think that the net tax increases that I'm coming to learn here for the folks in those three districts looks like it's maybe about $60 million more than they're already paying. And we already pay a lot of income and sales tax, and of course under the formula a great deal of that money goes elsewhere. So just to give you a sense, I think it's going to be difficult for me to convince my residents that that sort of an increase is something that they should go for. I do, as a legislator, spend a lot of time looking at the subject of pensions. And as I was looking over the math here, it looks like for the PSERS line item in your budget, 2014-15, so where we are today, that contribution is $1.1 billion. The proposed contribution this coming year for this budget is $1.750, so $1.75 billion. Probably that's going to go up another $500 million next year, and probably after that another $500 million. I think we've got two more big steps. And as I read those numbers, I sort of think to myself, isn't this proposed tax increase in part really just for our state, kind of the defined benefit, public pensions, unfunded liability tax increase? We're paying almost, I think this year, about $5 billion at the local and state level for our statewide pensions, SERS and PSERS. That's a really ugly animal to have in your budgets to have to deal with. So let me just drill down on your particular budget. I'm impressed that your general operating budget number only goes up by, I think, 0.3%, so well done. My question to you is, what is your benefit factor? In other words, how much as a percentage of salaries do you have to pay towards benefits in your budget?
It's a great question, and I agree. When you look at our increases and even what Chairman shared earlier, a lot of it is tied. Increases are tied to those benefits. So specifically, when you look at the Pennsylvania Department of Ed, I think it's very interesting to share that we have not increased. We're not proposing an increase of FTE last year to this year. Well, there's a slight increase, but it's just a shift over of some safe school advocates, so no additional personnel. Yet when you look at the percent of our total budget that is attributed to benefits, over the past 3 years, we've gone from 3% of our budget to last year it being 4% of our budget, and this year being 5% of our budget. So when you think of just the costs that have been that plague all of us in terms of the cost of maintaining business, you're looking at a percent increase budget while staffing at the same level, just in those contributions, just in terms of our benefit contribution.
Right, and so just so the viewers and the people in the audience are following us, so what you're saying this year, in other words, is you've got a certain amount of salaries. Let's say it's $10 million, just round, easy number. An amount equivalent to 68% of that, so almost $7 million, is going to be going to employee benefits. Is that correct?
And I did share 5%, I meant 0.05%. Just the number, when I was doing the math in my head, I realized I shared something wrong. But you're right, when you look at our retirement contribution, proposed for this year, it's $7.8 million.
$7.8 million for out of $23 million.
Out of our total Total salaries are about 35 million.
So about 20% of your overall budget is going to be going to pensions this year. Is that right?
So of our total budget,
No, of that number you just gave me, 35 million.
so I didn't do the math, only because there's a stenographer here, I'll write it out on paper later on, but
1/5 of 35, I think, is 7. So about 20% of your budget. Is that right?
so PD's total budget is,
I was using your number, 35 million.
yeah, so
So 1/5 of that, just
salaries.
1/5 of that is about 7 million, right? 5 times 7, 35.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.